Hey, it's Mary Ellen Phillip here. We wanted to address some of the most common questions that we've been getting about how the Carnivore Bar is different from Jerky, from Pemmican, from the Epic Bar, all these different things. So we're going to talk about it, show you how the texture is different, show you how the macros are different, and I'm going to let Phillip take it away from here.
Okay, so I was just at the grass-fed exchange. I had a great time. I saw beautiful farms, and I got this sample. This is Stemple Creek Ranch. Beautiful grassland, beautiful cattle, but they have a really clean ingredients list. It's just beef, water, salt, pepper, and vinegar.
Yeah, that's rare. That's a really great ingredients list.
Yeah, so very impressed with that ingredients list. But for some, that's already too much. And the texture and consistency, you've all seen jerky before, but really clean jerky is exceptionally dry. Now this tastes pretty good. I'm not quite as sensitive as some, but this is really lean, and that's how they make jerky shelf stable.
So it's really tasty for a snack. I wouldn't want it to take that as my only food for like a trip or something, because it's not going to make me like full.
Because you'd get all the protein you need, all your protein, but not any of the fat, not any of the energy. So Epic makes a really great tasting 100% grass-fed beef. This is the apple uncured bacon. So this is a 43-gram bar. Our bar is 60 grams. So ours is a little bigger. So to start with the nutrition facts, it's 170 calories. It is, total fat is 13 grams. Yeah. And total carbs is 4 grams. And this is not the leanest bar. I think the leanest bar is venison. But
yeah, it's about 59% fat actually by calorie, which is pretty good.
It's pretty good. Says the shelf stability is good for a year. January, or more than a year. January 2020?
Yep.
Well, that's a little less.
And we happen to think these bars are pretty tasty. And for someone with a more inclusive diet, I mean, the Epic Bar is great. But for people who are eating a strict carnivore diet or who are trying to stay in ketosis, it might not be the best fit for you.
Right. If you're trying to avoid like the apple or the other ingredients, this might not be best for you. But if those are acceptable, this bar already exists. A flavored, yummy meat bar already exists. So this is the zero carb version of that. So it's not really in competition, it's after a different demographic. Next is homemade pemmican. I made some pemmican to show you for this demonstration. Now, many people make pemmican, better or worse. So I don't claim to be the best pemmican maker, but this is my example of pemmican, and you can see it has solid fat in the bottom as it separates, and the meat you dry as well as possible and then mince it up about a 50-50 split. So half lean protein dried and then half fat, and that makes pemmican, which is pretty close to what you'd want to have for a shelf-stable food, but it's kind of messy, falls apart, and
it's like,
baby, don't break it. I'm going to do a close-up.
It already broke. Dang it.
Anyway, we'll keep all that in the film. Won't edit that. So we're going to do a close-up later, and hopefully you'll get a better view of that. So the problem with pemmican is it's a mess. When it was made as a trail food in like 1700s, it was extremely labor intensive. Everything in the 1700s was extremely labor intensive, so no one minded. But we're talking hours and hours of drying in the sun and breaking up lean protein with a mortar and pestle. So
it's a little easier now with modern technology. but
somewhat, but you really get that fine grain that you need for pemmican by really labor-intensive means. And so that brings us to the Carnivore Bar and how it's different.
We've had a fair amount of different descriptions. Someone said it was like pate with a popcorn semblance, and Michaela said it tastes, it's like the texture of crunchy peanut butter.
I think that's the best one. That's the one. She said it was creamy and
we've heard fudge.
Crunchy.
But yeah, the taste is like a very mild beef flavor.
And the whole point is to make it more solid, you know, so it's not a crumbly mess, and so that you can take it wherever you need to go, make it as transportable as possible.
And part of that is the melting point too, and we're going to show a demonstration of how the melting point is a little bit different between Pemmican versus our Carnivore Bar.
I kind of went a little overkill on the melting point test. I should have been a little bit more patient. So I went up to like 200 degrees. Both bars showed signs of being boiled because they were being boiled. But there was a real difference in the stability of that bar and the heat resistance of it. It's not the best showing. I would have loved for the Carnivore Bar to be immaculately untouched and the pemmican dissolve, but that's not what happened, and we're going to be 100% transparent.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about preliminary nutrition data?
Oh yeah, we got some of our nutrition data back, and we found out that it was pretty close to what we were projecting that it would be and what we were kind of measuring it to be. We were aiming for about 80% fat, 20% protein, and about 20 grams of protein. And what the numbers ended up being it's got 18 grams of protein, and it's about 82.6% fat by calorie, which makes it 17.4% protein.
Percent of your calories from protein.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
You got it.
So yeah, so it's 38 grams of fat, 18 grams of protein, and about 420 calories.
Between the two of us, she's got the numbers, I've got the words. We'll get it out there. So
it takes two.
We're still waiting on vitamin A and vitamin C. We're hoping that when the lab opens tomorrow, the vitamin testing will be done. If we have to wait further on the vitamin test, we'll just release what we have because we want you to have an opportunity to see that data before the campaign closes. This is the Carnivore Bar. This is homemade pemmican. This is the Epic Bar. And this is traditional jerky. So we're going to talk a little bit about texture. So we'll start with pemmican. Pemmican is kind of crumbly and has solid fat on the bottom. It is 50% fat, 50% lean, and it is very, very melty and very, very crumbly. So it kind of falls apart. This is the Epic Bar. It's a lot more sturdy, pressed meat. It's a little wet, but it is shelf stable up to a year, and it is all 100% grass-fed beef, extremely high quality, but it has carbs. This is a really good example of high quality jerky that's very, very clean, very, very minimally processed, almost no chemicals. And one of the ways that it achieves shelf stability is by being extremely lean. There's not much fat on this, not much energy, but extremely high quality amino acids. So that brings us to the Carnivore Bar, which has a rough texture and a smooth texture. Is pretty solid. It does break, but it's, let's get in focus. There it is. Much closer consistency of fudge. Okay, so that is the Carnivore Bar. This is a high fat, 82.6% calories from fat, 17% calories from protein. Closer to the Pemmican, but not quite. Fattier than the Epic bar and a little bit different texture. And we'll see about shelf stability later. And hopefully tomorrow we'll post the nutrition facts. And this is the jerky that is extremely hard, but extremely high quality. So those are the pros and cons of all four and their comparative differences.
Cool.
I think that's it.
I think we're done here.
That's our update.
Thank
you all. Thank you all so much.
Thanks.